Welcome to this week's Desk Side Chat. Our topic for this week is putting client outcomes first. And I'm extremely excited, honored to have Austin and Dave Boniface joining us this week as our guests. I've made no secret, Dave, that you were the impetus for this entire thing. Good advisors finish first, good people finish first. The premise is very simple. Putting client outcomes first, doing what's best for the client will lead to more success over the long run. And I think you've really built your business around that premise. And I'd like for you, if you don't mind, Dave, tell a little bit about yourself and Austin, introduce yourselves. But if you could start by talking a little bit about where Legacy came from, your business. I love that story.
Sure. So the previous firm I was with was a smaller regional firm. I was extremely successful. They kind of let us do what we wanted to do, a lot like being an independent advisor. Then in 2000, they were acquired. The firm that acquired them had a little bit different culture. At the time, I was assistant manager of a firm, moving into management position. We had 13 advisors, I believe, and the culture changed. Basically, it got to I was fairly successful. I was a top producer in the branch as well as doing some management duties. But they came to me and they basically said, "Hey, listen, Dave, you manage a lot of money. You manage quite a bit more money than anybody else, but your production, while we're okay with it, isn't what it could be." Basically, giving me the line, "You need to charge your clients more," right? That was kind of the end of it for me. So as it went on, I decided to leave, told them I was leaving. At the time, the CEO of the firm came to my office in Stillwater, came into my office, sat down in front of me, and did the whole check thing, threw a check down on my desk and said, "How much do I have to make this check out for you to guarantee me that I will be there, that you will still be here?" And it was funny because it hit me like, I mean, it was just an epiphany almost at that moment. It was like, what the hell am I doing, right? So I said, "No, you can't make that check big enough. I'm done. You sealed my decision more than caused me to pause to reconsider." And I left. I wasn't quite ready, but I left. And I even remember the drive home from that place and making that decision that, if you always put your clients' outcome first, they will take care of you. Take care of your clients, they will take care of you. That was back in 2001. I'd been doing some advisory work since 1998, fee for service. Decided to go 100% that way, which again, back in 1998, that process was just kind of starting, or 2000 when I started Legacy. Decided to come to LPL and basically started from scratch. Fortunately, all my client base came with me. Migrated over to advisory and built this whole idea around the idea that you really just have to immerse yourself into your client's life. Know that things change, know that life happens to them, and just everything is driven towards trying to make their money do what they want it to do, whatever that purpose is. The concept that maintaining the quantity of money so that they can maintain their quality of life. So that's basically what we built it on from the beginning.
And Austin, you've been involved in the last couple of years. I know a big focus for you all is planning. Can you share a little bit about what that process looks like as you're engaging with the clients?
Yeah, so we kind of plan off of what they've said about, the quantity of money and what you want, what the client wants that money to do for them. We put on top of all of our agendas that prescription before diagnosis is malpractice. And then, from there, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what are the client's goals for these funds, right? A lot of times it is just retirement. They want to spend it. Our client base tends to have kind of a legacy focus, leaving money to their kids. So we spend a lot of time, getting to know the kids, working with the client's kids as well. And just kind of bringing that focus back to what the meaning of those funds are. We call it vertical planning, where we'll go ahead and build plans for clients' kids. And a lot of times there's not a lot of assets there to really charge for it. We'll kind of just do that as a service, using a couple, slimmed down, not running full wealth visions. Maybe we use a Money Guide Pro instead of a full wealth vision plan for the client, but still, treating them, like they're our clients too. And again, it just kind of helps the outcomes. It helps keep assets sticky and all that good stuff. So
It goes upstream too, right? That's what ends up being really powerful as you go upstream. Not only do you ask about where's your money going to go when you pass away, you ask that really simple and important question. Are you an executor, a power of attorney, or in charge of a healthcare directive agent for anybody else? And oftentimes it's, you're probably talking to somebody fairly successful, fairly organized. So they're going to be the ones that are the POA or the healthcare directive or the trustee for their parents, right? And oftentimes that ends up. We just had last week, had a client of ours that we had a conversation with. Dad had a house and about $90,000 to his name, no estate planning. We took an hour out of our day coaching the client on what sort of simple will should he have, transfer on death deeds, payable on death on the cash account, and just making sure that since Scott was going to be the executor for his dad, making sure that when his dad passed, his dad was in his 90s, when his dad passed, they were going to be able to skirt around probate. No revenues or anything like that, but powerful, outcome driven for the client.
It's powerful. It's valuable, right, to the client. It's valuable to the entire family, the estate, and putting the client outcome first. You're going in with that mentality of, hey, are you a POA? Like, I want to help you. I want to make your life a little easier, because if we don't have these things set up ahead of time, we could run into some challenges down the road. So just, trying to really, put that client first, what's going to be best for them, that inevitably leads to more assets. Again, you're not going there first. You're not saying, hey, does your old man have, some assets? It's really trying to focus to the client, and then that can lead to additional business.
Yep,
exactly.
absolutely.
So one of the challenges, especially right now with market volatility, is in your role as an advisor, you're trying to help coach and instruct, advise the clients in doing what is best, doing what's right for them. But you are also balancing that with their fears, their concerns, what that client is looking for, and trying to strike that balance of what's best for the client. What are they seeking? What are they looking for? How do you strike that balance in terms of, giving the client a say, understanding where they might be coming from, but then also trying to coach them into what is best to produce that outcome?
We rely on planning software a lot for that. We kind of remind people to look back at what the plan says. Remember what you told us, that statement of financial purpose type, the type thing that, our top of our agendas. The other section has what's important to you, what do we know is important to you? What do we think is important to you? And then we revisit that every time we talk to a client, and then remind the client with market volatility that, this money isn't for right now, right? The fact that your accounts are down, 10-15%, well, then we already earmarked this money for your kids' needs, right? We know your Roth you're not going to probably ever spend your Roth. You're going to leave that to your kids. So kind of reminding clients to think long-term and rely on the plan as our answer. Anything to add there?
Yep. And we rely on, we told you so, right? We are not afraid of telling people when they first come in and meet with us that there will be times you are down, depending on the objective, you will be down 20, 25, 30% at some point in our relationship from your eyes. Know that now. If you're not comfortable with that, then on the onset, we need to create a portfolio that isn't going to create that issue, right? So we let clients know immediately that there will be periods in our relationship where they're not going to be happy with us. They're not going to be happy with their returns. We know that. There's nothing we can do about it. We've got a 91-year-old prospective client the other day that I loved his comment. He was like, yep, the cow kicked over the milk can again. I thought that's a great analogy to when this type of stuff happens, because it happens. Expect it, embrace it, buy equities when you feel like throwing up, right? Trying to preach that whole concept that nobody is born an investor. It's hard. Your natural instincts are to react to what's right in front of you. Brake lights come on, you hit your brakes. Bump your head in the door frame, you duck next time. I mean, we're always thinking what's going to happen to us in the next 2 hours or 2 days or 1 week. We don't think 15 years ahead because we're not wired to think 15 years ahead. But if you don't think 15 years ahead, you're going to fail. It's that quantity quality. If you want that quantity of money to keep your quality of life, buck it up and accept the risk.
And along those lines of, you know, the learning process, again, you bump your head next time, you know, duck. What are you doing, Dave? You know, 1998, you were already kind of cutting edge, you know, moving to an advisory model long before, you know, it was widely accepted. What are you doing today? I guess both of you, Dave and Austin, what are you doing today to make sure that you're staying up and you know, constantly, you know, making sure that you're evolving your processes and continuing to deliver value to the clients?
I pay a lot of attention to new technology, new softwares and things like that, new ways to deliver the message. I think we all, us advisors, kind of all know what the message is. I think sometimes we just aren't good at delivering it, but maybe looking for more innovative ways to keep clients engaged when we deliver that message. So I kind of try to stay on top of all that stuff, try to make sure that any type of reporting tool we're using or any type of planning software or anything like that all looks good and does the job of getting the message we're trying to get across to the client. On the investment side, there's more on top of portfolios and things like that. So anything on there you want to add?
Yeah, again, I always like stories. We had someone come in not that long ago, and you have to stress the point that the plan comes first. We do the plan, and then once we know you and we know the plan, we can build an investment portfolio. We can't build an investment portfolio and then make that fit your plan. That is back-ass words completely, but it's done all the time. Someone came in, they had about $700,000. It was at another firm that starts with F. And we asked about planning and there was none. And his wife had gotten sick. She'd had a stroke at a relatively young age, and he didn't do anything about it, didn't help, didn't plan, but ran this portfolio for them. So we talked to him, decided to take it over. He kind of liked the guy at the other firm, so he called him. What do you think that guy did? He immediately pitched him a product that would reduce the volatility in his portfolio. He didn't ask, how's your wife? He didn't ask about the plan. He didn't ask, what are your long-term goals? He didn't ask, do you want to build that house up in Luck, Wisconsin on the property that you own? He didn't ask any of those questions. He started with a product pitch because he felt he was going to lose the investment portfolio. So let's flip to product. All you got to do is before you can build a portfolio for a client's outcome, you got to know what they want their outcome to be. And it's so easy. It's so simple. Clients sense it. They know when you care. But you start by asking the questions. You don't start by telling, why you're a better investor than where they currently are, because that's just a bunch of shit. Excuse me, I shouldn't use that word, but that's just a bunch of garbage, right? I mean, if you, like he and I always talk about, if I can get you an extra 50 basis points in return, that's awesome. I can save you $300,000 in income taxes or your heirs $2 million in income taxes, that's what you're hiring us for, not to try to get you a little better return. If that's what you want to do, go put it in an index fund at Vanguard and don't mess with that. You know, the question, the lead of so what are you paying is so silly, because I think we got to change that to what are you paying for, right? Paying
Yeah.
Vanguard 35 basis points to go into a robo-advisor, what are you paying for?
And that might be the right solution for certain clients. It's not going to be the type of clients that you serve, right? I mean, that's somebody, like you said, you know, that's an option for them. But you know, again, that's not going to be a fit in terms of working with you all. In terms of putting the plan first, you have all these different softwares, Austin, out there: Right Capital, Money Guide Pro, eMoney, Wealth Vision. You mentioned that you're doing Wealth Vision and Money Guide Pro. How are you kind of putting those different systems together in terms of building those plans for the clients? And we've talked about this before, so we'll kind of keep this more high level.
Right. Yeah, well, they integrate with each other. So Money Guide Pro is nice for like the goals planning. They have like those sliders. You know, clients can put in each of their goals and then slide and it will redo the Monte Carlos, which is nice for clients when they're in there, you know, doing the plan by themselves. For a simpler plan, we'll use Money Guide Pro just because it's quicker and easier to just kind of quick throw in, you know, like a goals-based plan for somebody who's, you know, 28 years old and doesn't necessarily need all these big cash flow simulations. I think a lot of times with eMoney, Wealth Vision, when you do that, you know, you make a plan for somebody young and, you know, it's pulling over their previous returns and the standard deviations and everything for their return assumptions. You end up with like some pretty big numbers that I think maybe aren't that valuable for, you know, a 30-year-old to see that when they're 60, they project to have, you know, $30 million because, you know, that's just how the math works. When realistically, you know, their life is going to change probably, you know, countless times between now and then. So it's kind of a useless prediction the second you put it in. So for a quicker, kind of just easy plans, we'll use Money Guide Pro. And then, you know, for more advanced ones, we'll use the Wealth Vision. We'll build the Wealth Vision first. Another thing I'm really big on is getting accounts to be linked. But what we always do first is we always get all the statements for all the accounts, collect all the statements, upload them into the Wealth Vision vault. If you go in to the client website, you actually can put them on the account. So, you know, the client's 401k, if they click into that account, they'll see a list of their statements there. And then, you know, from there, get the clients to link accounts once we already have kind of the shell built, and then run everything through the eMoney link to Money Guide Pro, have those two communicate with each other. And then, you know, if we're going to run some scenarios or anything, I'll sometimes hop over to the Money Guide Pro side. The other thing we've been using that's kind of nicer for the simpler, quicker plans is that My Blocks from Money Guide Pro, which is kind of a cool software. It's like looks like you're watching Netflix, but instead of the movies, each of the little things are like little modules that the client can do and enter stuff in. They're all pretty simple. But those are kind of nice touch points that will, you know, maybe we'll send the client the link to the My Blocks, have them do a block for, I don't know, whatever, say we're talking about Medicare or healthcare or something like that. They can do that block before the meeting, and then when they come in, we'll kind of have a deeper discussion on it. So that's kind of how we're running things now on the planning software side. It tends to keep people a little more engaged. There's a couple other things I'm thinking about adding that aren't on LPL's platform yet, that aren't approved by LPL, but we won't have to get into that today.
That could be for another time.
Yeah.
With that My Blocks and getting the clients involved, does, you know, the age of the client, does that play a factor? Or are you trying to, even, you know, somebody who may not be as tech savvy, are you trying to coach and help them through that? Or do you just kind of, you know, basically, is that just something that you're doing for the clients that are already more tech savvy?
I think it's situational. I think it's a combination of how tech savvy the client is and how willing to buy in the client is, right? A lot of times you get those clients who, they say they want this big plan and they want to go all in depth, but then when it comes to putting the work in, they don't always necessarily follow through with it. And I get it. We all get busy. It's not necessarily the most fun thing to do all the time. So it's pretty situational there. We have I'd say we have probably better engagement than most advisory practices, at least from what I hear on the using our planning tools that we have online. We get quite a few clients. We had just a client meeting the other day where they came in to kind of review stuff. And one of the things she just said over and over again was just how helpful these tools were, how it was, she wasn't worried about the market volatility because she, saw her statement, saw how much she was down and freaked out and went into her plan and started looking at the cash flow projections, started looking at a Monte Carlo report and things like that. And when she came in, she was like, I'm not worried. I'm okay with this because I know the plan comes first. We're not, we know what the outcome for this money is. We know what that is. So we're still on track for that. So I can handle this. It's just another bump in the road.
Yeah, and another thing, and I want Austin to talk about this because he kind of introduced it to me. And this goes a little bit into technology with Zoom, right? Because Zoom is I know that we all like to meet people in person, but on the flip side, prior to Zoom, if you were going to have a client come in and drive here or fly in here to meet with us, you always wanted to have a 3-hour period or something to meet with the client. Well, now with Zoom, one of the things, and Austin's really driven this, is being very task oriented, knocking off hitting them with a fire hose or trying to sound smart. Letting clients know that there are literally thousands of things that we're going to be doing for them, but not today. So today we're going to talk about whatever on the, because we have a questionnaire where they list, prioritize what they want. Today we're going to talk about Social Security. We're going to talk about estate planning or whatever it happens to be. And we focus on one little tiny piece of their plan, go over it, tell them what they need to do, follow up, make sure they do it. When that is done, then we move on. So Austin, talk a little bit about that, because that's kind of his thing that he's building out.
Yeah, we've just kind of moved to, having maybe more shorter meetings, more frequent meetings. Every single, so we do our reviews, we'll review a client's
Frequent
portfolio.
as in like, ballpark, typical client. How are you, what does the frequency look like?
Yeah, as needed, right? So as something comes up, but we do our proactive review calls three times a year, every 4 months. And then, from there, we'll have maybe a short phone conversation about the portfolio. And then, if it's March, we might talk about taxes. Is your tax return done? Do you need a CPA referral? If your return's done, can we get a copy of it? All that stuff. If just kind of year timely depending. We have we call them narratives, our client narratives that we have on not all of our clients yet, but a good chunk of them. The last section of the narrative is when was the last time we reviewed, last review of the estate plan was June of 2022. Next time we need to review it is, I don't know, whatever that frequency is, 2023. So say that comes up and, I look at it and before I do the proactive call, I say we haven't reviewed their estate plan in a year and a half or 2 years or something. I might, ask a question about that. Is there any questions on your beneficiaries, any questions on your trust or whatever their estate plan is? If there is, let's say, hey, let's hop on a quick 25-30-minute Zoom. Let's get this scheduled. Here's our schedule once link, schedule when you can. After every single one of those calls, I'll, send a little follow-up kind of what we talked about, have their performance reports, maybe a report of something on the plan, like a balance sheet or so whatever, depends on what stage they're in. Maybe it's a cash flow report or some sort of, distribution type report. And then follow up with this. I always include the schedule link. Like, if there's anything else you guys want to talk about, feel free to schedule a time and then we can just let us know what it is and we can knock out a quick 15-20-minute call sometimes. And I think it helps, again, going back to that outcome thing, it helps you actually get things done. when you meet with a client, you have one annual in-person year meeting and it's 2 hours long and you go over a list of 15 things that you need to get done, you maybe get 2 of those 15 done. And then next year you have, 15 more things to do and clients just don't get it done. If you kind of stay on them, how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. Just kind of slowly pick away at the things we need to get done. And yeah, that questionnaire we have, which I can send you can post that on the resource thing in Circle, it's pretty nice. I don't know, it's got maybe 25, 30 different questions on there, and it says, how satisfied are you currently with whatever the question asks, and then how important is it to you on a scale of 1 to 5. And we just look for mismatches, things that are important and things that they're not satisfied in, and then prioritize that area of the plan. And that's kind of how we've been moving things.
And Austin's driven that. So our industry is really kind of screwed up when you think about it, because we tend to put ourselves kind of on this high horse of importance. Could you imagine if your property casualty guy called you and said, hey, come in for your annual meeting, give me 3 hours, or your doctor or your dentist or your whatever it is, unless you need something done, you're not going to want to spend 3 hours a year sitting down with your insurance agent making sure that your coverages are proper. You expect your insurance agent to tell you when your insurance isn't, to review what's important to you at your stage in life. Mm-hmm. It's that easy. I mean, it's really that easy. And again, that's client outcomes, and it's knowing your client, and it's prescription for diagnosis, and it's all of those things, strategic with a tactical overlay, all of those little things that we kind of preach to our clients how we build our practice.
In all those things, you're focusing, honing in on delivering that client outcome, but all those things synergy wise can come back and make the practice more efficient from a scale perspective. Austin, when you're talking about that client before that was looking at the plan or able to log in and felt comfortable, so you're scaling yourself out. Dave, you talk about the meetings being more efficient, bullet pointed. You're adding more and more scale, you're meeting with the clients on that more regular frequency, shorter meetings, more detail oriented, and getting that buy-in. It comes back to you all, right, in terms of not just revenue, but just the scalability of the practice. You're able to help more clients.
Exactly. I gotta run, so finish up with Austin, but I will talk to you soon.
All right, thanks so much, Dave. And Austin, any last comments before we open it up?
No, I don't really have anything.
All right. Well,
whatever. Take questions.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you and Dave joining us this week. We will be discussing this topic all week inside the group. Please join us on Wednesday for our Hear from a Peer meeting. Austin, thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.